Olá, boa noite, tudo bem? Meu nome é Marcela, eu sou head do time de cursos aqui no Clipping e também estou na jornada para me tornar diplomata. Se você caiu de paraquedas nessa conversa, eu só queria lembrar que o Clipping é a plataforma mais completa de estudos para quem quer ser diplomata, independentemente do nível. Vale lembrar também que as inscrições para o novo curso extensivo estão abertas. Esse é o curso mais completo do mercado e conta com professores líderes em aprovação. São mais de 300 aulas focadas na sua aprovação. Mas a melhor notícia vem agora. Quem garantiu o curso no lote de lançamento garante mais de R$ 4.000 de desconto. Mas atenção, as vagas são limitadas e podem se esgotar rapidamente. O nosso time vai mandar o link no chat, você pode conferir a ementa e garantir esse desconto. E ainda por cima, quem garantir o curso até o início das aulas vai concorrer a um curso intensivo inteiramente gratuito. E um curso intensivo à sua escolha. A sua economia pode chegar até R$ 7.300. Não dá para perder, né? Bom, aqui no Clipping estamos todos em clima de lançamento de curso. E por isso convidamos todos os nossos professores de extensivo para dar um gostinho das suas aulas. E o melhor é que vocês puderam participar da escolha desses temas. Hoje, na nossa primeira aula, convidamos o professor de inglês, o Shawn, para dar uma aula indispensável para todos os CACDistas. Bom, eu passo a palavra para o professor, mas acompanho com vocês aqui nos bastidores. Boa aula a todos!
Hello everyone, welcome. Eu vou falar inglês, ok? Então você pode me acompanhar em inglês, por favor. Welcome. My name is Sean. As you see my name, down here. Of course, it's a very strange name. It means João, simple as that. It's an Irish name, but I'm English. And let's put the first slide to tell you a little bit more about me. Well, of course, here at Clipping, I've been in Clipping for quite a few years now and helped hundreds of people and many who passed as well. I always get about 20 or 30% of the pass rate of people who've studied with me, which I'm very happy about. Now, of course, I used to work at Rio Branco. I was there for 10 years. So I know what it's like before, during Rio Branco, and of course after, because I've had experience with hundreds of diplomats in those 10 years. I no longer work at Rio Branco because I work in many other places. Now, if you want to contact me, it's always better to contact me or my email or on Instagram. In my Instagram, there's lots and lots of good tips. You'll see. Please look at them. All right, they are there to help. They're free, of course. I do recommend you look and read them. They will help you along your with your progress and your preparation. So let's look at the next slide, the possible slide, please. Okay, so now I work in all these places. I have done many courses at STF, CESU. I'm starting a new course next month. Mr. Justice Ministry, I give classes in, if you're a Gaúcho, I give this to people, the procuradores in the south. Câmara de Deputados, TCU, they've just agreed a course with me now. I've given a course with the British Council. I teach regularly at OAB. And with the Procuradores, Associação Nacional de Procuradores and Ministério Público. A regular course at EDP, so for public administration and law. And I work with the economists at IFI. So I work in many different places in the government. I moved out of Rio Branco, and luckily for me, I'm very well received in the government. So maybe one day we'll bump into each other when you come to Brasilia, somewhere. Okay, let's go for our class. Let's get started, shall we? So, what are we going to do today? We're going to look at the grammar, vocabulary organization, and exam strategy, and the way to study based on what you asked for. What did you ask for? You asked me to go through all of the mistakes that candidates make in the CACD exam, okay? Thank you for the overwhelming votes Okay, it was very nice. Wow, I was so surprised at the number of people, hundreds of people. Thank you very much. I hope you all come and study with me. I'm here to help. And I love it when you pass, really. I feel so happy too. All right, had people pass this year, the previous year, sometimes in first place, but as long as you pass, that's all that matters, okay? So we're going to look at all of these things within our course today, all right? So, and this will be, in a way, a typical type of class. I'm going to have a drink. You'll see with me, of course, with clipping, everything's recorded. So when you're, got so much work, you can come and see me after, but join me online, of course, live, because we can talk and do so many things together. So let's go. Let's have a look at a fantastic score one of my students got. Look, no mistakes. So very rare to get no mistakes. Here we can see this is the score that IAGES gives for the composition. The composition is the most important item on the CACD. You see almost a perfect score for the organization, 10, 9, and 5. Just didn't get 10 for one area, okay, but almost perfect. I think the examiner probably changed it to 9 because there were no mistakes. Now that is very rare, okay? Let's go to the next one. Okay, here, this was a candidate in the, not this, but the previous concurso, I think it was Joaquin, yeah. He was in first place. He got 5 mistakes. Well, look at his organization. Perfect, 10, 10, and 5. So when it says any, that's the errors, okay? 45 is the number of lines, and 0 if you go over the line. So that we've got to always look at that score because we want to do very well. We want, like Joaquin, the perfect organization. Well done. Okay, and 5 mistakes is the maximum we want to get. We want to allow, okay, to get a very high score. Now, this year, it is this year, the exam was, for me, it was very easy. Lots of people did very well. And they scored very high. I was so happy. The previous year, we had a crazy examiner who just said anything is a mistake, really, without any criteria. It was very, very strange. But last year, thank goodness, we had a sensible examiner. And because the candidates have trained so well, the best ones did very well on the composition. And then, of course, in the summary, which is natural. And, of course, we have translations in the second phase of the exam. We're going to leave the first phase for now. But if you want to talk to me about the first phase and how to study at the end, I'll be happy to talk to you. Okay, so write your questions. I can't see any questions yet. I have to find out here. Okay, so hello, I'm going to say to everyone first. And Louisa, Diana, you're the first one. Flavia, Raquel, and Larissa. Okay, good. I'm sure there's some more, but I'll stop for now. Welcome. So I'll keep the comments on and try and ask a question. So CACD, how do you pronounce my name? My name is Sean. Sean. Okay. So as I said, it means Joan. It's an Irish name. Okay. It's quite common now in the United States. Lots of Irish people there. And of course, there are very famous Seans. Sean Penn, my cousin, and Sean Connery, who's now dead, my uncle. Okay. All right, so there's some famous Seans there. They spell their name a little bit different than me. So let's continue. So 5 mistakes is what we want, but of course, people make a lot of mistakes. And these are what we're going to see in the exam. Look here. In the first paragraph, there was a mistake. Let's go to the next slide. Próximo slide. Let's go to the next slide. Yes, okay. Oh, no, go back. Okay, so here was the first place's mistake in the preposition, okay? So what is the preposition? Okay, hi, João Victor. So what is the mistake of this preposition? Well, that's what we're going to do now. We're going to have a little quiz, okay? A quiz of preposition. Of course, prepositions are very important, but studying prepositions, okay, are limited if you know what you're going to write, because we write only a certain type of language. So then we know what the preposition is. So here we are, and this one is essential transforming. What is the preposition, do you think, going in here? Type for me, see if you can. Who's going to be first? What's the preposition? Let's see, you can have this. A bit of fun to start. Shall we go through here? Yes. Yes, so let's go next one. In. Okay, in. Number 2. Number slide. Okay, what's this one? Think. Let's move on, shall we? Next one, please, Jessica. Oh, go back, Jessica. Walter. Okay, to or toward. Sometimes you could put towards. To be very careful. Depends on the examiner. Excuse me, but if you put toward, you're usually safe. Some examiners don't like towards. They say it's either American or English, but that's possible. Okay, let's go. Good, Natalia. Yes, I saw. I think the mistakes are coming a bit late, and the comments come a bit late here. But let's go through the next one. Okay, 3. It's not of. All right, please. It's not of. We haven't got of here. The answer is, what's the answer? In. Always in. Increase in, decrease in, reduction in. Always when we're teaching economics. That's it. Okay, in. Okay, number 4. Now, this stage, common phrase. Now, these are phrases you people write, okay? Let's see. Good, Clayka, good Jota, yes. The answer is? At, yes, very good. It's coming now, the mistakes. Number 5. On this stage, no, Natalia. Always at, all right? And Diana, no on, you've got on as well. So what about this one? Let's have a look at this one. The answer, please. On, now on, if you, oh, sorry, yes, I'll tell you, on a higher level, yes. Or, of course, at a higher level, is both of them are possible. Okay, sorry if I said you were wrong and you were right. The comments coming through. We're going to do 13 of these. Let's go quicker now. 6. Countries have a mixture of cultures, common. Here we go. The answer is in. Oh, sorry, I changed the slide. That went in common. Okay, very good. Yes, Guilherme, good. Mariana, excellent. 7, let's go 7. I am seeing, that's it, Natalia, good. I am seeing your comments. Okay, myriad problems. Ooh, how many times do I see CACD candidates writing a myriad? Which means many, of course. Yes, good. 5. Good, Natalia, Jota, and Mariana, you all got that, of course. Yes, the answer 7. to use. Don't use it normally in other styles of writing, but we tend to see it a lot in the CACD. Okay, 8. Easy one, but a nice phrase to use as well. Well, I think it's easy anyway. I think my mother would find it easy. Let's have a see that this one. Let's go. Oh, not many people come to. Oh, yes, good. Fine. And Natalia, the first one. And Clayka, good. Clayka, if I say your name, Glenn. Yes. Let's look at the answer. On, of course. On the verge of. A good phrase. So phrases like myriad of, on the verge of, are good phrases that we can put into our writing, okay? And then we know what the preposition is, because prepositions come in these phrases, okay? As long as we get them right, they're very limited, the amount of prepositions we can choose, especially in these types of phrases. Probably there's usually only one, like this one. Okay, 9. The crisis has shed a light, and shed a light, or another great phrase used. What do you think your answer is? Who's going to be the first one? Good. Mr. 5 as your master. Yes. Shot Mariana. Good, fine. Yes, the answer is on. Yes, shed light on, always. So people put off is a mistake. No, it's on. 10. Good, Bernardo, Mariana, good. Contribute. Word used quite a lot in writing too. Let's see. To or towards. 2, everyone's got 2. Okay, let's have a look at the answer, please, Jessica. Towards, yes, or toward, or to, yes. Both are possible. Notice a verb ing after that, okay? Usually want a noun, because people always wonder, after these words, is it to an infinitive, or is it to plus a gerund, a verb with ing? Okay, so that's what we've got to be careful of. But the secret, if you don't know, is always to use a noun, all right, not a verb. But of course, when you come to me on the course, then you'll see how we will make that change, because it's more natural for us to use a noun rather than use the form of a verb. Okay, 11. To be decisive, the building of trust. Hi, darling. Okay, let's see. Okay, in, yes, I'll go through that one. And let's see, at, no. In, no, not many people said this at the start. They were afraid of this one, weren't you? Okay, 12. Easy, easy. The same one for both of them, but people make a mistake with this one, quite common. Yes, of course it's on. That's the answer, please. On, yeah. Not depend of course, when we translate it, depends uma coisa. We always make that mistake, especially when you're under pressure, okay? Always depend on, always focus on. And the last one, Zagallo's lucky number, play an important role. Someone mentioned this at the start. We have 2 ins so far. I think you've all got it right. Yes, the answer, please. Just in. Fantastic. Okay, just a bit of fun for us to start. Now, these are common phrases, all right? And of course, as long as you know that these phrases you use all of the time, then prepositions aren't a problem because we're dealing with an advanced level of writing. Now, when you're deciding, okay, the book is on the table, okay, of course, that's saying the position, okay, I'm at the baker's, but we're not talking about position when we're in advanced stage. We're using these phrases to express ourselves to a high level. So, of course, we're limited, which is great, to the type of phrases, type of prepositions we use. So when we're writing, of course, when you come on the course and we're doing all these, we'll be pointing out these main phrases that you've got to know because you're going to use them when you write, whether it's going to be in the summary or the composition, because they're the two main ones. Then, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute, then you don't make the silly mistake, what we saw, even a first place. Okay, so how do I stop making mistakes first? How do I stop making these mistakes? Let's have a look, okay? Well, of course, when you're thinking and you're studying, you need input, not just normal input, you need quality input, high-level input. And of course, studying the CACD, that's what you get, lots of great input, too much sometimes. And of course, you've got to process that because when the output is quality output that we need to show the examiner. So let's look at the process that we're going to see. Now let's think about that because this helps with the, before we go to the mistakes, this is going to help you understand more why you make mistakes. All right. So next one, Jessica. Okay, so we're going to look at the learning process very quickly here. I promise we'll look at the mistakes, but it's very important you know what type of mistakes you're going to make under pressure in an exam. Those 5 mistakes that we maximum we want. People will make mistakes, okay? But we've got to limit them. So let's look at these traffic lights to help us see the process of learning, okay? Next one. So when we're learning something, we go, oh, there's a problem. There's a mistake that I don't know. So you need help, like a teacher. Now, then the teacher's going to show correction and gives you lots of feedback. Okay, so there are mistakes that you don't know. Now, that depends on your level. Okay, even there's advanced levels are going to have a problem. If you're intermediate, there'll be lots of grammar that you know, and there may be some you don't know. So we have to know what that is. We only do that by looking at your writing, seeing examples of what you're doing to see what's missing. So you have to be corrected, lots of feedback to move from say an intermediate level to an advanced level, which we want to pretend that the examiner thinks we're advanced, okay? And we need that. So you need lots of feedback for all of your problems that you don't know what they are. Or the next one, Jessica. Then there's those mistakes you make. You think, wait, I think I'm wrong, but I can correct myself, okay? Those mistakes that you're not too sure, and then you remember, and then you correct yourself. So there's errors that people make. If they don't correct themselves and they go, yes, I knew what it was, I should have corrected. And they're the ones we tend to find on the test, okay? That when you get the espaliers, when we get the espaliers back, you see those mistakes and you go, oof, how stupid they were. But teachers like me will try and give you some excuse to tell the examiner that you actually right, okay, when we do the courses. So really with these types of mistakes, you know them, but that means lots of practice, okay? You need to practice writing and writing and writing, for example, that helps you correct it. Next one. Or when we're learning, you're doing well, you've got no problems. You don't need feedback. You don't need to check yourselves, and you can go along perfectly, okay? So if a teacher tells you there's no problem, you know you're doing the right thing. That's why it's important, the red and the yellow lights, because you need feedback, because they're the mistakes you're going to make on the exam if you don't know. Here, so you're writing the red and the yellow we see, that's where we've got the questions. That's where you need feedback for your writing, okay? Next one, Jessica, we'll go through this quickly. So when we're doing that all of the time, we're going to look at the red and the amber mistakes, and then, of course, then you know you're doing well. And we need to consolidate that through practice, okay? Last one. So what we want to do, we don't want any problems at all. We don't want you to question anything at the end of course. When you go into the exam, you're just confident that everything you do is going right. You're passing go all of the time, and you don't need to question yourself. And that becomes an automatic thing, okay? But we'll go back to this as we see, okay? So this is important why, especially the amber ones, are the main mistakes that we're going to see in the rest of this session. Okay, Jessica. So the first problem, well, no exam strategy and panic. Okay, so of course, people panic in the exam, just like Mr. Bean here. And mainly because you have no exam strategy. It's very important, exam strategy. And this is the biggest mistake why people don't get a good score. So this is the first massive mistake. No exam strategy. What exam strategy do we have? Next one. Well, IAGIS, our board, always starts with the composition and then puts the two translations and the summary on phase 2. We must focus on phase 2. I know everyone wants to pass the TPS phase 1, but if you pass the TPS and you're not ready for phase 2, será morrer na playa. Okay, you'll die on the beach, as they say. Okay, so you must be preparing for both. Of course, when you go to the second phase, that's where we're classifying. Okay. So we've got to pass that. So what do we do? What strategy do we use? Okay, now, okay, we start with our composition. Okay, always the most important, it's 50 points. Then we do our summary, which is 15 points. And then the two translations. If you do well in the composition, the summary, one more, Jessica, then you've passed. Of course, we need to pass to go through the next phase. So composition summary, a high level, taking your time, doing it right, okay? You've practiced, gives you the time to pass. The translations are the ones, because really, they're always difficult, okay? So it's a lottery, the translations, okay? But of course, they're the extra points you've got to get. You've got to guarantee that you pass, of course, and then get more points. So if you're getting a high composition and summary score, then the examiner will probably see that your translations are good. So you must concentrate on those two first. Now, what do people do? They follow the IAGIS sequence and do the translations in the middle. Well, the Portuguese to English or the English are very difficult and people take too much time. Okay, that's the biggest mistake. Taking too much time in the translation, could leave them to the end. So many people come to me when I see their Spelio, they send it, and I can tell in an instant that they didn't start with the composition summary. They're rushing at the end with the summary, which you can't do. The summary needs time, okay? And cognitively, as we look at that, the composition, the summary at the top there have the same sort of cognitive process, and the translations have a different one. So that is a simple way of scoring high, okay? So that's the massive mistake, not preparing with the tests, okay? In 5 hours, you have to do exams of 5 hours. And people rush, they think they can just do the exam, they don't think about it, but 5 hours is a lot. You have to experience that stress. Okay, and that is the biggest mistake. People are not ready with the strategy. They panic and they fail. Okay, because they haven't allocated proper time for each one. and they haven't maximized their scoring by looking at the composition summary first. So if you want to focus, hi Graciela, if you want to focus always and you want to start studying, you do compositions and summaries. Composition summaries, okay? The translations will be difficult, all right? But those two where you've got to maximize with getting very few mistakes, okay? First massive mistake. Okay, let's move on. What time we've got? Okay, good. So let's talk about this Miskino examiner. Let's look at how he can be. Okay, this was supposed to have GIFs, but they would be funny. But it doesn't look like he wants to look. So here's the first problem. In the AGIS in 2002, the examiner decided that he was, look at the one at the bottom here, it says at the bottom, committed to promote, and then he crossed it out, peace and cooperation. And in this composition, you see the person is making a lot of mess. So the examiner, never before, last year's examiner decided to penalize people who were not correcting properly, just putting a line through. Some people were, putting 2 or 3 lines, writing above. No, you just put a line through. But the first time the examiner was being so mishkin, okay? And these are the mishkin things, all right? The petty things. So if you're getting a good score, he will try and get you for the correction if he thinks your score is too good, especially. All right, so of course, practice by doing a final draft is very important for composition. So you have no mistakes, okay? Yeah, just a line, Garcia, just a line through, okay, is enough. All right, next one. The comma, this year, Yargis decided this person passed, went to the, is in the Rio Branco now, I think, but this examiner decided to penalize some commas. It's very difficult to argue against commas. Usually commas are where we breathe. There are some rules, but very difficult, okay, to complain about or say he's wrong. So the commas were a problem. So another Miskino thing. These are the things the examiner comes up if the people are scoring too high, okay? So we have to be careful with commas. Use as few as possible and keep your sentences shorter is the best way. Just using 1 comma is enough, and not a list like this one. Okay, the next one. And of course, the size of a capital letter, the Miskino thing, like I had one many years ago in CESP. It's never really happened because I don't allow people to do this. They were World War II, and the W looked a bit less. We've seen the second one, little bit less than the other one. Okay, so scored a point. Obviously, it was World War II. Or, okay, or the T is not right. Isn't that so petty? The T is not right. The top of the letter isn't right now. Some people are common to do that in your handwriting. So you've got to make these things clear. World War II is the most common incorrectly written, let's say, abbreviation. Okay, and of course, T. Next one. And then the other Miskino thing. Okay, and why, I don't know why Brazilians like to go to the end of the line and then cut off the word and finish at the end. Maybe it's quite common in Portuguese. I don't know. Your words are bigger. But we can't really do that. Look what the examiner has done. He's given 3 mistakes just because this person split the words. Okay, now this person passed. They're in Rio Branco now. Yeah, Vitor it was, I think, in there now. And so he still, his language is good enough still to pass. But the examiner was being Miskino, was being petty, and that's it. Okay, so my recommendation is, let's go to the next slide, Jessica. In English, dividing and hyphenating words is not recommended. Now, if you want to look at the rules, go onto YouTube, okay? My Central English site, I've got a few little YouTube videos, and this one gives you all of the rules. Okay, I don't really like to give you the rules because I don't want you to hyphenate, or sorry, to divide the words, to split them at the end, because it allows the examiner, as we've seen with vetoes, to be petty and score. Okay, so that is those 4 areas, commas, the way you correct. It's nothing to do with your content, you see. The end of the sentence. And what was the other one? Do you remember the other one, everyone? What was the 4? There were 4. Who can tell me? To see if you were listening. Capital letters, yes. Writing them right at the start and the middle. Okay, well done. So, so those 4 areas are very simple. Handwriting is important, but there's nothing to do with your content, nothing to do with how intelligent you are. All right. So when you're getting, 49 out of 50, the examiner will look for those things. Okay. It's very rare, as I said, you get 0 mistakes, but it comes with lots of practice. When we get lots of practice, we can see whether you've got a problem, it's that red problem, or it's an amber traffic light, where ones you can correct, because they're the ones we're going to keep on seeing. Next one. Okay, let's continue. Please, Jessica. Okay, of course, I hope you're nervous. I'm a little bit nervous today. Nerves are the problem in any exam, of course. So that's why practice under pressure helps to release the nerves. Let's go on and see what other mistakes we make. Okay, so let's look at these tips. Look at these tips. You should always know your exam strategy. Think if the TPS practice scores has always been consistent. If you are always wrong, you need to review the grammar again. And the 4th one, practice and see if you always finish the exam in 5 hours. So practicing. So here are just some tips for you to use. Always know your exam strategy, okay? And practice so you know what score you're getting on TPS. Review your mistakes and practice under pressure, okay? Good, let's continue. The next one, another way. So in these phrases, okay, we've got adverb, the adverb always. And here is another problem that people make. The adverb position. Right now, it's very simple. Here are the rules we're going to see. Here we see that in 4 different sentences, the adverb position. Let's look at the rules. Okay, the next one. Okay, so adverb position in the middle of 2 words. Okay, so you should always know your exam strategy. Okay, has always been. Okay, so the present perfect. The present perfect, we need to be great in the present perfect, because that's going to be a mistake we're going to look at in a moment. What mistakes people are making. All right, so always goes between the 2 words. So the adverb goes between verbs. Well, before the main verb, which in this case is know or been. Okay, so that's the first one. And people make this mistake. Next one, Jessica. Or here's a mistake from last year's or this year's exam. Okay, after the verb, people put it after the verb to be, and people put it before, because they always think it's before the verb. Okay, so if you are always wrong, here we are, you're always wrong in this sentence. And there's are, of course, the verb to be. So we always know the exception is the verb to be. That's an auxiliary verb, I suppose, as well, in some cases, if it's the continuous progressive form, but always go before the verb to be. Okay, as we see a mistake there. Next one, Jessica. And I'm going very quickly, everyone, all right? Because you've got a lot to do, and I'm sure you're going to have questions as well. Here's another example from this year's exam. Okay, my students always send me the spurious, so I analyze what the problem is, so I can tell you. And of course, these are all, I think, all of the examples I'm using, of all the different examples, are students that's passed. Okay. So, even they pass, they make these silly bauble mistakes. All right. So here we go. So so if you always finish, so the adverb goes always before the main verb. Okay, Jessica. So the position you've always got to remember for adverbs, you come to adverb, only, always, rarely. Only is the main one. Just we don't really want to use. It's too informal. Okay. So always before the main verb, unless it's the verb to be. So get your position right, and then you will sleep very calmly. Okay. Which one is usually, this is, which one is the top left is my wife and I. She always pulls the sheet off of me. I'm never comfortable. Anyway, don't tell her I told you. Okay. So positions of adverbs. Okay. Next. Okay. So let's continue. Now, look again. Did you spot the error in the tips? There was one error there. Did you know what it was? I read those 4 sentences, and there was one silly mistake. Let's see, did anyone notice it? I went through so quick. Because when you're reading in the exam, you go very quick. Yes, Graciele, when you've approved, you can see, well, you'll be very excited, Graciele, once you've passed. Okay, you're getting ready to move to Brasilia, buy new clothes. Guys wear a suit. The girls will be going to Zara to buy new dresses. Okay, because I know you're probably not washing, you're not shaving, you're struggling, you're going crazy, studying all the time, and that's the way to do it. Okay, I first started teaching privately, CAC, going to people's houses because people would ring me and say, Sean, we can't do anything with this student. He keeps getting there, but he falls when it comes to the English. So I go to these people, that the houses smell, the books are all over the place. It's always a problem, okay? And then, but of course, that sacrifice is what you've got to do. So did you see the problem? Let's have a look. Okay, Jessica. So here was the problem. The second phrase there. Think if the TPS scores has always been consistent. Has. Is that correct? Okay. So no, of course it's not. Next one. Jessica, please. So have or has. Have or has is okay, one of the biggest problems that people make in the test. The biggest mistake is getting them wrong. Okay, sorry about that, Ivan. You're here now. No problem at all. You must be very tired after all these other courses. Okay, so have or has, they're so simple, they're so bobo, okay, that they come with the present perfect. Okay, always with the present perfect is when people have problem, not if it's a normal verb. Okay, especially when it's further away from the start of the sentence, with the relative clauses, which we'll look at. Okay, so have and has, you need to be extra vigilant with these. Okay, because I've just done this exercise and I don't think anybody saw that mistake. They're so small, nobody noticed them. And when you're under stress, under pressure, and you're checking your work. If you don't realize have and has is important, you pass it and you lose points. Okay? Okay, so that is, so this got the strategy. We've had those Mishkinya ones, and this is a Bobo one. Okay? A Bobo mistake. We've gone into good types of mistakes. The Mishkinya ones because of the examiner, and the Bobo ones because you stressed or you didn't have the amber light working. All right, next one. Now, let's have a look at the main problem that people need to realize. Let's look at this number here. You might think is number 6. The examiner will always think it's different with number 9. And this comes with the aspect. When we're choosing between the present perfect and the simple past. So we use the present perfect quite a lot. We use the present tenses a lot. And of course, the simple past. Now there's confusion even between the present perfect and the present continuous. Okay, but that's really a side thing. But usually in the exam, people choose the simple past when it should be the present perfect. Okay? Yeah, the silly ones are difficult to avoid like this. And this is not a silly one, all right? This one is, you have to argue this because it depends on the aspect, how you see the information. We want to see it like the examiner. We don't want to see it like you do, okay? Want to see what the examiner, and the present perfect is one particular one. Hi, Sundry, okay. So that is what we've got to look at. What would the examiner expect? What would be the correct aspect when choosing these tenses, the present perfect? Okay, Jessica, next one. So, oh, it's gone in blue there. I'm changing my slides. I think when we change it over to Google Slides, then it changes. Okay. So, excuse me. What aspect means is how you see it. Now, let's look at these sentences here. So there are these two sentences where it says, can you read it with me? She works in Athens, or she is working in Athens. Okay. So, of course, these sentences both, in a way, convey the meaning of progress. She works in Athens. She's there now. She is working in Athens. She's there now. All right. So which one do we choose? Well, of course, we're going to choose the present simple because that's usually what we use for facts. So it doesn't really matter. So we don't want to use the continuous. And same with the present perfect. Okay. So with the present perfect, as we see in the next sentence, she worked in the past in Athens, or she has worked in Athens. Again, it's in the past. So which one do we choose? That's the problem, okay? Because the examiner will expect probably you're going to use the present perfect, and you might want to use a simple past, okay? And there is a problem there. How do we know which one to use? Well, when we're looking at the present tenses, we're talking about facts. So she has worked in Athens is a fact. You know, she still has that experience. So we're looking the meaning of retrospection from how we're seeing from the present to the past, okay? So when you're writing arguments, you're not going to use the simple past, all right? You're never going to use the simple past. You're always going to use the present tenses. And if when you're writing in the present, you think, oh, something is referring to the past, you're going to use the retrospection, the present perfect. And that you have to practice because you're always going to see 6 in this case, and I, as your teacher, will see 9. When over this process, you see that problem and the green light is on, then you're not making this mistake. All right, let's continue, Jessica. These are just the main tenses. Same, okay, with continuous forms compared to the simple forms. Here we see the sentence about Iran. Iran has signed many agreements. Iran has been signing many agreements. Well, sounds like both are correct. Okay, well, they're progressive, it's repetitive. But really, they're both the same. But the when we write, the progressive can give the form of something which is temporary sometimes. So what we never do, really, is use anything in the progressive form. And then we're safe. We're safe. The Brazilians like to use a progressive form sometimes instead of the present perfect. And that would be another problem. Okay? Of course, the time expressions, as we see in this next one, she has worked in Athens before, or she's worked since something, or 4 or 5 years, not during. Forget during, throw during away. Durante, okay? Hardly ever use it during in English, okay? She has worked in Athens for years, I think it is, as well. So the ending, the time expressions are the main things that also form how we're going to choose. Now, we don't use all of time expressions in the test, especially in English. I usually, as a style, keep people away from using nowadays or in the past, these general throwaway time clauses, and then it helps. There's no really embromission. No, you're just looking at the main arguments and not linking it to time. People tend to believe this is a history test. It's not, right? We're not talking about one specific time. We want arguments. So arguments are, well, let's have a look. The next one. So you've got to remember this. Argument is the present tenses, the present perfect and the present simple. So that's the way we can limit making a mistake. Now, people will say, oh, but there's lots. If I go to the grammar book, yes, I can go to my grammar books. Go to my grammar book, and I can go to my grammar book, and I've got another 3 or 4 here. Let's put them over there. My office is a mess. Of course, there are lots of rules to these, but we need to know what we call the genre, okay? The style of writing for the exam. So we know arguments are always in the present tenses. So you're writing facts, and then you have something about the past, and you're going to keep it in the present perfect because it's retrospective. But when it comes to illustrations, the examples, just use the simple past. No need for the progressive tense, and no need for the past perfect. Usually, if people put the past perfect, their mistake is they should have put the present perfect. Okay, that's a common mistake we see, okay, in the exam. But no past perfect. Through practice, through making mistakes, you know, the lights will come on, and eventually you won't make mistakes. And you'll see what your problems are. So that's why lots of practice is necessary. Okay, so that's what you've got to remember for the tenses. It's very simple. It's got to be simple. Okay, then it helps you to make that decision when you're writing again and again. Okay, fine. Let's have a look with the next one. Okay, another one. What's your pronoun? Is such a common phrase today in our modern society, but we're going to see what's your relative pronoun. Let's have a look at the relative pronouns. We have that, which, what, where, and who are the main ones. Okay, so let's look at first who. Yeah, who. So who, will never use who because we're not really talking about people. We're talking about arguments. We're considering a point of view. So we're never going to use who. Next one. Where is for places. Now, we never talk about a specific place. You might use it, but probably not. Okay, next one. What? Oh, my goodness. What? The translation, people like to put what as a relative clause. No, we don't have it as a relative clause. Maybe one specific time we might do it, But no, it's really poor translation. So don't be using what anywhere in your writing. You're not going to ask a question, and you're only going if you use it in what we call a cleft sentence. Okay, and that you're going to learn with me, of course, on the course. It's one of those nice phrases we need to show the examiner that we're a bit more advanced. Okay, next one. So we've got that and which. So which one do we love? Which one do you think is the one we love the most? Tell me, do you love that, or do you love which to use as a relative pronoun? What do you think is the best? Write for me. Let's see if I say that or which. Tell me. See if you're awake. Which one do we love? That or which? If we were to choose in the exam, that is better, Patrick says. And Diana says that as well. John Vitor, that. Mariana, that. Clayker, that. I'm getting worried about you all now. Oh, next one, please, Jessica. Which? Of course, which is the one we want, not that. You know why? Because of the comma. Of course, that and which we think can be substituted. So we think the Coringa is that. So we always put that. But when we have long sentences, we're going to use commas, and we use relative clauses, non-defining relative clauses, okay? That means you've got a comma in the middle, just before the relative clause. So you can't use that. It would be wrong. It's a common mistake. So we need to always use which instead of that, because you can't be wrong, okay? Whether you use whatever type of sentence you use, which is your safe port of harbor, okay? That is not the Coringa, okay? There are problems. The main one, if you use a comma or not. With a comma or no comma, which is okay. But if you use a comma and you're using that, it will be a mistake, right? And that is I suppose, an advanced one, but it's a very simple one. And as we're looking at commas with the exam, because he's so mishkinya, this is one we have to be specifically careful about, that we use which. So now, all of you who told me, now change your tune and write with which. Okay, I hope this was useful. Okay, you can't make a mistake if you use which. Next one. Yes. Have you ever done this mistake? Written which this way? So Bobo spelling mistakes, that comes on the exam. Okay, which? No, it's wrong. Next one. Of course, the H is what we have to put in here. And that's what so many people miss, especially at the start. I think it's like an amber one. An amber one in our traffic lights. You do it once or twice, 3 times, and the 4th time, you don't make this silly mistake. So yeah, these silly mistakes are amber ones, these spelling mistakes. You know them, okay? You can correct them if you see it again, but as you're under pressure, you don't. So of course, when you're writing initially, and you make these bubble mistakes, you need to write it down. You need to put them on your wall in your desk, right in front of you, and see them. Not write it 500 times, but write them down and put them on your wall and keep them there for 2 weeks. Okay. Yes, not many people put which that way, Graciela. Okay, with a TCH, a busha. So let's have a look at the silly spelling. This is a common one. Which one is it? The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th? You can't see it. This guy should be moving, all right, trying to look at the exam. But of course, people miss out the U. They put a T instead of putting although. So GHT is a problem for some reason. Okay, I don't know if there's a word in maybe there's no word in Portuguese with GH, okay, in it, but I can't think. Yeah, it's although, it's the last one. But and everybody will say, yeah, it's easy. Okay, easy, the last one. But this is when you're under pressure. This is the bubble mistakes you're going to make. Let's have a look at the next one, Jessica. Here's from this year's exam. Look, through here. The T is put there. Okay. Simple mistake. And I put technological, missed out the N on line 4. Can you see that? Line 2, through the last egg is not really fantastic anyway. And technological, miss out the N. When you're under pressure, you can't see these things. That's why we have to move from the red and the amber to the green, because it's natural. You don't think about it anymore. Your behavior is always correct. You're always spelling correct because you don't need to think about it. But these are the problems on the amber when these are the mistakes you're going to make. Let's have a look at some more. Okay, look at this one. What did I put here? Oh, yeah. Forget the second one. We'll see that next. Literature, simple one. Someone put 2 T's. This person passed the exam. I think this is Rio Branco at the moment. I saw 2 T's. Okay, literature. There's a silly mistake. Okay, a bold mistake. You think, wow, I wouldn't make that mistake. You will. If you don't make it to this area of the green, writing without thinking, knowing that everything is all right and you're doing things correctly. I know it maybe sounds perfect, but that's what we want to aim at. Okay, next one. So here are, next one, please. Okay, so here's some common mistakes, okay? Principal, illicit, illicit. Okay, successful. What's the mistake? Oh, 2 L's. I think I should have been there. I've made a mistake there. I apologize. Peaceful, 2 L's. Yeah, that's why. No, we have 1 L. Beginning. Well, so many people make mistakes with beginning. Now, being, and being. Of course, it's not 2 E's. It's not the middle one. But the problem with putting being and been, you know what it is? It's your pronunciation. Because we think been, the first one, and the last one, being, is the same, but it's not. Been is 1 syllable, and being is 2 syllables, 2 sounds, okay? So that is quite difficult sometimes to think about. So when you're writing, you're thinking of these things, that being, and you write been. It's the same thing. No, it's not. So you've got to be careful. But as we don't really want to have, okay, we're going to have gerunds, of course, but we don't want to have progressive, so we need to limit them. But we might need gerunds sometimes with being. Defense and defense, US or UK? Well, here's a question that everybody asks. Should I use it US spelling or UK spelling? Well, you have to be consistent. Have I ever seen an examiner really mark someone because of this difference? No, I've never seen it, but I've put that there just in case, okay? Because usually with people who write for me, it is a problem. But you need to be consistent, always the same in a way. Country. Now, which is the best one to do? Well, of course, the British, where I'm from, is the best one. And when you become a diplomat, that tends to be the style that's used. Why? Because we use the present perfect a lot more elegantly, which we have to do in this exam. Right? So it becomes, over time, you become that. But of course, if you've got American leaning, it's not really a problem as long as you're consistent with the same spelling. Okay? But I've never seen the examiner mark someone down in spelling because they have, let's say, an American spelling like center with ER on the end instead of RE. Okay, evolve and involve. People like evolve as in develop in a way. Use evolve instead of involve because of the sound sometimes. Explore and exploit are problems. We never really explore anything in, I suppose, international relations. We exploit people. So that's the one you're going to use. Of course, whether and whether. We want the second one because we want to use that instead of if. That we'll look at when you come to the course. Okay, lose and looser or loser. There's a sound. The first word is loose, and the second sound is. Sorry, the first sound is lose, and the second one is loose, looser. Okay. So of course we never use something folgado, mais folgado, or whatever. So we're never going to use the second one. We're always going to use the first one, lose with the Z. So we're only going to use 1 0, but people make a mistake. It's an it's problem. You're never going to use a contraction. This is formal writing. So it's anyway with the first one, it is in a contraction form will never be used. But people do it, and they get mixed up between them. So just never got to do it. Okay. Categorize, TH again. Strengthen, GHT again. Sometimes the N is missing, but again, the GH and the T is a problem. Using E at the front of the word, strategy, in this case, and specially and especially. Okay, they seem the same. And everyone seems, when they start writing, like specially. Only use especially. Okay, I know in Portuguese, the E, of course, is used, usually dropped in many words. Well, we would use it in English. So it is a common mistake. Okay, but believe it or not, we're only going to use especially in the exam. Forget specially. Like which. We're only going to use which in the exam. Forget that. These are the things through practice helps limit your mistakes. Okay, so they're very important that you make the mistakes first, okay, when you practice, and then you know, and of course I know what your problems are. If I need to teach you, like the red traffic light, or if you need to just correct yourself, you need to point it out. It's a bubble mistake, and you correct it. Okay, so there we are. Spelling. Next one. Now this one, Shakespeare should be making a funny face. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so using archaic words. Why do people want to use archaic words? They think the examiner is going to give them an extra point. No, here the person, this was quite a few years ago actually, Christian, he used lest. We don't use lest anymore. Okay, lest we forget is the phrase we use when people die. Sorry, in the war, we don't want to forget the people who died. That's why we wear a poppy every November. We remember those who died in the First and Second World Wars. We have a phrase, lest we forget. But we don't use it anymore. Okay, so it doesn't really mean however or anything anymore. So using archaic words, trying to use vocabulary that you think is so fantastic, no. And that's a problem. People trying too hard. It's just going to be clear language that the examiner can read without any problem. He doesn't really want to get his dictionary or his grammar book, yeah, and have to study to see if this one could possibly be used or not. It's going to mark it wrong. Next one, let's go through. Okay, inversions. We like inversions in the exam, okay? What do? They tell the examiner that you're advanced. There we are, that's it. They tell the examiner you're advanced. Because when we learn English, we only do inversions at the end of an English course. Okay, and they're very formal. They're not used a lot, but in this genre, in this style of writing, Brazilians do like to have long sentences with 2 bits of information. It's, I don't know, it must be a problem for Machado de Assis. Those really long sentences that you can't understand. You have to read 3 times to get the meaning. Okay, so not only, but also is the most common inversion. There are other inversions. I teach the other inversions, but this is the main one. So here is a sentence that's wrong. It says there, not only in both communities, women are severely marginalized, but also they fear for their political interests being ripped out. Okay, this came from a summary we did on women, and you'll do with me, about women fighting in terrorist groups. Good text. Okay, so let's have a look at this inversion. It's wrong. What's wrong? Next one, Jessica, please. So, of course, not only gives us that negative adverb at the start, and it says women are. Well, we need to invert. It's an inversion. Okay, invert the verb in this case, or the auxiliary verb, and the subject. We're talking about women. And the other mistake is also. Now, also, what type of word is also? Okay, what type of word? Tell me. What type? It's not a verb, is it? Let's see if you can tell me what's the type of word is also. Let's see. Let me have some água de coco here. What type of word is it? It's not a verb. Is it an adjective? Let's see if you can tell me. Got 15 minutes. Oh, get through this, okay? Maybe it's taking time to get through. I'll tell you the answer. And yes, Jean-Vito is the first one. It's an adverb. And we just looked at adverb. Thank you, Clayka, and everyone else is going to pop up now, I'm sure. It's an adverb, and we've just done adverb positions. And this is one that gives us a problem. Also, you can move, all right? It's not only, but also it's not stuck together, all right? Also can move, and that is another mistake that's common to make. Let's go for the next one, please. So that's very important, the word order of inversions. We don't have it in Portuguese. We don't have this same word order, but we need to use inversion, especially not only, but also because, excuse me, because it's good for the examiner. He thinks you're advanced. It's not difficult when you practice it, but we have to use it. So, okay, not only are women severely marginalized, but they also fear for their political interests being ripped out. Yeah, that was, yeah, it's an old sentence I took from a student's writing, okay? So also those adverb position is a problem. So you've got to be very careful with the inversion, because at the start, the word order is different than in Portuguese that we think, and also then the pegadinha, haven't used that yet. Pegadinha is the use of also. Okay, next one, Jessica. Okay, so another problem. Okay, and this is where everybody falls down if they've not really been drilled into them. When you're planning, planning is important. You need to relax, breathe, and take 20 minutes and half an hour to do the and think before the you start the exam. Think of those arguments. You must think of those arguments, because it's the quality of your arguments that gets you the high points, not your language. It's how you put your arguments. So you need to think about them. And when you've got good arguments, there's another thing people forget: evidence. Always forget the illustrations, the events, the examples that demonstrate, that gives you evidence for your arguments. Because people get excited. Oh, these are great arguments. And they write one paragraph with just an argument. Maybe they might put an example just at the end when they remember it's too late, but really, you've got to have lots of evidence as well. And people can forget that because they want to show how great they are at arguing, how intelligent they are. And that's not what we want. We just want to get everything on the exam bonitinho, ready, all organized. The examiner sees everything and he's got no problem to read. He reads it and goes, wow, this is nice. Great arguments, lovely evidence. And I can read it, no mistakes, fantastic. And it's as simple as that, all right? So as long as you've got no mistakes, because we're looking at mistakes, you don't forget the simple things when you're at the planning stage, okay? And you follow the strategy that we've done, then you'll be okay. Good. Next, Jessica. So anything else? Any questions? They are the main mistakes: spelling, the adverbs, the mesquinha things, the bobo things. That's all they are. And probably say, well, there's nothing there that I don't know, because they're probably in your mind, they're in the position of yellow. Okay, you can correct it, but sometimes you can't see it. Thank you, Jessica. You can't see them when under pressure. Oh, I see my eyes and the screen here. Under pressure, that's when you don't see the things you can't see. That silly spelling mistake. So practicing under pressure with the correct strategy is the main thing you've got to do. Okay, so if you want to know anything about me, of course, you can join me here. Oh, look, isn't that nice? That's cheeky. At Clipping. I've had lots of students. I've done this a lot. I'm very pleased with all the performance of my students. I love teaching CACD. I love beating that examiner. All right, getting you those, especially those intermediate students, to the high level by limiting what you can do and giving you the great arguments, because you're all intelligent. But getting that information onto the piece of paper is the task that you've got to practice doing it well. And of course, we'll be practicing on the extensive course. What will we do? Of course, we do TPS and the second phase. Some of you, I think, here have been with me. I recognize some people already. And this actually class is good, not for you necessarily now, but before the exam. Actually, come here again and see me again and see these mesquinha and bobo mistakes, all right? Now, in the extensive course, we'll be looking at the TPS, lots of practice, especially at the start in TPS. And they're going to move up, okay? The extensive course in 3 modules. The second phase, we're going to start writing. And in the last phase, and get you to the end, you're going to be doing a full exam, okay? And I'll be giving you feedback through our Clipping chat. I'll be giving you feedback as best I can with a number of students, okay? But it depends on you. Are you afraid to write? Many people are. Think, Professor Sean, he's this type of teacher. I'm afraid to see my mistakes. No, I want your mistakes. Please give me some work to do. Don't give me any work. You're in the green phase, but I want lots of reds and ambers in your work, because that helps you to get that 0 mistake on the writing, okay? It is rare. You want a minimum, let's say, of 5. That's what I try and see, because you will make a bobo mistake, or the examiner will, of course, be mesquinha and penalize you for something. So we have to be careful. So, yeah, I'm very pleased with the extensive course we've been doing. We're starting next month. I'm going on holiday for a few days, actually. I'm going to visit my children because they're the same age as most of you. Okay, and that's why I'll be giving you lots of advice. I won't be just showing you English. I'll be showing you how to study. The tip I can say is get into groups. You're all alone in probably where you are. You need to form groups and discuss and talk and share. Okay, and I'll be expecting you to do that also on my course. That would be one of the first things I'll be telling you to do. We have to see the whole of you. We have to understand that, you've got all of these other things going on, these other subjects. I understand that English is the best, but we need other subjects too. You need good history. You need international relations, okay? You need all those areas because they help with your arguments. They help you in the politics, help you to think, all right? Because when it comes to, we have to have great arguments with good content. Usually the content comes from history, but the arguments comes maybe from politics and I think international relations. Of course, history too, with the other teachers, which are all fantastic teachers as well. I'm very happy to be part of the team too, since I was invited a few years ago. Okay, so I will leave you all. Let's have a look at lots of practice. Yeah, practice makes perfect, as they say. All right, and yeah, and join me. I've done this before. My students always have students that passed every year. I used to have actually quite a lot in the quarters as well, because I love pushing up those levels as well. That's my favorite thing, seeing you start weak and being advanced at the end. It's quite emotional when you pass. It's lovely to see these people who passed this year. Previously, many of them were students of mine, and I know what it's like at Rio Branco. I know what you're going to do there. Many parts of the course, of course, I prepared and planned in the Rio Branco. I'm not there now because it's time to move on to something else, all right? And I'm dealing with all of the other areas of the government, which is lucky. But I like teaching CACD, and I hope you can join me. And I will, if you do, great. So that's it for now. Just one piece of advice. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Okay. All the best. Ciao, ciao. Thank you for staying with me. And any questions you have, of course, you can talk to Clipping and online. I think, well, there's a thing up here too. All right. All the best. Bye-bye. I'm going to go. I don't know how I'm going to leave. All the best to Graziella. Good. Raquel. Thank you. Adriana, yes.